Good morning and welcome to the Demolition News business briefing for the month of November. I'm your host, Mark Anthony, and you might be wondering why I'm wearing a suit while I'm sat at home. Well, this time last month, myself and Builders Conference CEO Neil Edwards were bemoaning the fact that neither of us have worn business attire for almost a year now, and we agreed that we'd broadcast this time around suited and booted. It'd be interesting to see if Neil actually remembered our agreement or whether I'm just sat here looking like a pillock. This will be our last business briefing before Christmas, obviously, and it's been a year that's been plagued by a pandemic, by political unrest, and by the ever-present spectre of Brexit. Yet through it all, the UK construction sector has really stood firm. It was named among the nation's key workers, and the sector's just soldiered on through the lockdown. And against all odds, it's continued to deliver month upon month of good and at sometimes exceptionally good levels of new contract awards. Now, to find out whether the industry has carried that on into November, I'm about to be joined by a hopefully well-dressed Neil Edwards. While I'm getting on the stream, let's roll the intro. Good morning, Neil. And you remembered?
I did remember. Thank you very much. Yeah, yeah. I was thinking to myself, I hope he has as well.
It's like that thing you'll go into a fancy dress party and you turn up and you think, I hope everybody's doing the same.
Yeah, I just didn't get that special invite.
So how are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much indeed. Yes, it's it's lockdown 2 is does produce its own problems in for people, whether it's their own mental health in these times, because for my type of things, we do sit at home and don't meet very many people, and we are we are sticking to the rules. So yeah, and when we come out, the area that I live in is East Sussex, so we're in tier 2, so it's not going to improve a great deal. So yes, but generally in the way of work, it's been okay. It's been okay.
Good. Well, I'll do the first of the messages. Good morning, Neil from Peter Haddock, who, funnily enough, we were just talking about off air. So that's good morning, Peter.
Yeah, good morning, Peter.
I guess we start with the usual place. What are the scores on the doors? Was November good, bad, or indifferent?
Well, it was good again. And if we've just recently had, obviously, Rishi Sunak come up with a revised budget for the future, and that's quite staggering, the amount of money that the UK is going to be borrowing. But as you've often said before, the construction sector were named as key workers way back in March, and has been a shining light through this pandemic, really. And this month so far, I know we've got a couple of days left, but this month so far, we've also gone past the £5 billion mark for the month of November for construction contract awards, which is fantastic. It really is. And we would normally see a tail off towards this end of the year, this time of the year, because obviously we're getting into the Christmas parties, which aren't available this year, obviously. So yeah, over 5 billion is a fantastic sum.
It really is good. I get the feeling that that's part of the construction industry's mindset at the moment, because we blasted through August. We normally take a bit of time off, put our feet off, and put our feet up and go and build sandcastles. We didn't do that this year, and it looks like Christmas will be here soon enough. But we're just going to crack on and keep working, and that, given all that's gone before in this year, that's a great sign, isn't it?
It is, and hopefully we can take that into 2021. The spending review that happened this week, I think what we need to do is actually put some meat on some of the bones that he was talking about, because obviously there was a lot of information about hospitals and infrastructure and projects that are going to get this country moving, whether it be out of this pandemic or even out of Brexit as well, once we pass Brexit, which is obviously speeding up. It's only just over a month away now, isn't it? So we do need some meat on the bone. The 40, I talked about it last month, the 40 projects that we're talking about regarding health, we still haven't seen them drop yet. And what I do recognise is the fact that some of those designs might have to be slightly adapted from their original concepts, because we are doing health a little bit different. Because if we are going to have similar viruses in the future, we can't just do the same old hospitals. We need to actually think about how we can distinguish between levels and keep certain quarantine areas available. So there might be a redesign going on at present. So I'll give a little bit of latitude there, but we do need to pull our finger out and get those projects actually not just on the drawing board, but out to tender, out to bid, because they're not going to take just 5 minutes to bid. They're going to be significant projects, and then we've got that actually get them on site.
Now, speaking of slight delays and that kind of thing, Peter's asked a question here. He believes that things are looking good for 2021 as it stands at the moment. I'm inclined to agree with him, to be honest. But how quickly do you think the money is going to come through? I think that's a very good question, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's been highlighted. I think there is a political will for it to happen, but how it actually comes forward, I think somebody's got to get really pull their shirt up or arms up and just go for it, and say, right, we are going to spend now. And the problem is that they're a little bit tainted at the moment. If you listen to a lot of the press conferences, etc., regarding spending money on PPE, which may have not been exactly the right PPE at the beginning. So what you've got is, you don't want inertia by people saying we've got to check and check and check and check. We need to get out of this situation, and borrowing is going to be the only way we're going to get out of it. And I know that means that in the future, 20 years ahead, we'll still probably be paying off what we're borrowing today. But if we are going to be a leading light within the world, we need to do it today.
I also think, and we will get to the proper conversation in a second, but I also think there is an element of a need, or a need for the government to be seen to be doing positive things as well. Obviously, I mean, nobody could have prepared any leader or prime minister for the COVID crisis, and regardless of whether you think Boris Johnson has done a good or bad job, ultimately, he's ended up being slightly, very tarnished by all that's gone on. And I think one way to get himself back on board and to get Rishi Sunak back in everybody's good books is to be seen to be spending money on things like schools and education and health and infrastructure and all those those big money items. And we've also got there's plenty more to come from HS2 as well, of course, isn't there?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and we that could and will help the construction industry immensely. Now, I know we're thinking a lot of people didn't quite understand what, and that's being a bit, but didn't quite understand what HS2 was about. It wasn't about speed getting from Manchester to London. It's all about capacity. And I think, I know that the actual line from Manchester to London was at something like 97-98% capacity today. So, we're a growing nation, and I know now we are working from home, but we still need to move. We still need to move around the country. And it is one of the cleanest forms of transport, because we're all on that one mode, aren't we? And it rather than clogging up the motorways with diesel engines and petrol engines. But yes, he does need to seem to be working. And we're in exceptional times, and I don't want to keep using that word, exceptional times, but there is no manual to this. There has been no manual, and it's a world problem. It's not a UK problem. It's a world problem.
No, very much so. So that we've done the preamble. Let's get the scores on the door. So you said we've topped 5 billion. Who were the big winners this month?
Well, this month there hasn't been that normal signature project of £1 billion at the top of the tree. It's been quite evenly spread out. But the big winner so far this month is BAM Group. They're up at the top, and they've got over £370 million worth of work so far this month. The largest one of their projects so far is for the new arena up in Manchester, the Etihad. It's a 23,500 indoor arena, together with offices, restaurants, and associated external works. Now, I know reading up on this, it's been a little bit of a project that hasn't always had the best kind of press, but it has now going to be started, and BAM, and with our partners, who we, as I said before, with our partners, Considerate Constructors Scheme, it has been registered with them as well. So it is a goer, and that's a £350 million job in the northwest. So absolutely great. Second on the group, we're back to the housing, which has obviously supported the construction industry over the last year, really. And it's Berkeley Homes. They're doing a new project, and it's the Horlicks factory in Stoke Poges in Slough. So that's a £220 million project. They've got over 300 million this month. So as you can see, it's not the £1 billion that we've often spoken about. It's great levels, but it's sort of like more spread out. Third on the list is a great project, really. It's called the Dagenham Eastbrook Studios in Dagenham. Now, this agreement has been signed by Barking and Dagenham, even in these strange times due to COVID as well as Brexit. And it's with a Californian developer, Hackman Capital Partners. And it's to deliver, obviously, some new studios, 12 sound stages over in East London, or in Barking. And that project's worth about £300 million. So, and it's also very closely linked with the council, and a number of procedures that are going to have is obviously local people are going to have to be employed in the actual making of this project.
That sounds like Hollywood coming to East London.
Yes, and it does. And somebody has actually put it in the press that it is Hollywood coming to London. Yeah. We are one of the world leaders. Obviously, we've got Elstree Studios, and we've got the new studios going up at there, and Sky Studios. We are one of the world leaders in producing films, and this is obviously just supporting that. So great. And after Brexit as well, if we can actually attract a lot of industry back to the UK, fantastic.
No, absolutely. Peter's on the ball again. Can't wait to see the Dagenham project. No, I mean, it's very easy to get excited about things like HS2, but as Peter has pointed out earlier, you know, there are lots of other big projects that are either going on or about to start. You know, that's real positive signs. You know, the big concern, I think, with everyone that's likely to be watching this is going to be employment. And, you know, as it stands at the moment, you know, we have got projects to keep people in jobs and need more jobs for the foreseeable future, haven't we?
Yeah, you and I, when we used to meet face to face.
George, you remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little while ago. But we used to often talk about how construction had become not very sexy. And it wasn't one of the sexy industries when spoken about in schools, colleges and universities. Because it was always given that poor kind of light in the fact that it was dirty, cold and everything else. Well, this may be changing because we will need those trades, but with computerization, digitization and the digital world, life is changing on the construction site, and it isn't becoming as dirty and as horrible as people might think. Yes, we're still going to be cold because obviously the weather's not going to change in the UK, but the way we work, I think in the future, the construction industry will be one of the big industries of employment going forward from now.
I also think, and if Peter's still there, I think he will probably echo this because he's been very closely linked with things like HS2. I think one of the things that projects like HS2 have been very good at is selling to young people the legacy. You know, there will come a time in 20, 30, 40 years time when somebody that's possibly in school or in college right now can point to HS2 jetting up the country and say, I built that, I was part of that. And that should be a huge source of pride, you know. And when you look at, you know, I was at the Wembley Stadium last week, you know, there's another one, you know, people can point at that Wembley Stadium and say, I built that. You know, and you know, Dagenham is another one to say, you know, that I was the guy that drove the digger on that very project. You know, that's something that really needs selling, I think.
Exactly right. Yeah, and I think, well, I was very lucky when I was younger. I was employed by Wates on a training scheme, and I used to say to my friends when I used to go past some of the sites that I used to work on in London, saying, "Oh, I was on that site," and I was. So I think you're dead right. You know, there is going to be a bit of pride by people saying, "Oh, yeah, I was on that. I was on the Dagenham studios," and it. No matter what, construction is a great industry. It doesn't always get a fair press sometimes. It can be dangerous, and there is no doubt about that. We are dealing with machinery, and we're dealing with a number of things on site. But it's a great industry. I've had a great time working in construction, and I would always say to people, have you thought about working in construction? You don't have to be on site. There are obviously supplementary side of things, whether it be an architect, a quantity surveyor, a structural engineer, a mechanical engineer. It's a great industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Peter has just echoed what we were both saying there. HS2 is the hero project. That's what it is, and I think that's the. He said celebrity style projects. You know, those are the ones that I think will attract the young people. You know, to say I was a part of that major scheme. I mean, even going back to my time when I was at Contract Journal, you know, things like the Channel Tunnel and things like that. You know, to be able to say, you know, I was part of that team. That's something to carry with you, I think. But I've gone off at a tangent now, and we've only got to about number 3 on the table. So where are we?
Oh, yeah, right. Number 4.
Bring us back on track.
Sorry, number 4 is funny enough that the company that I started my career with, and that's Wates Limited. They've secured over £200 million worth of work this month. The largest one of their projects is for £100 million development, and it's an office type development in Piccadilly Circus. Now, I know they've been working on this, getting this up to deliverable stage for a little while, but yes, so yeah, £100 million in the middle of London, Piccadilly Circus as an office. Fantastic, because there was a reports in the press over the last month or so that office developments are stalling because of what's going on. Yes, they are, but this obviously taking the light, you know, that's brilliant news. 5th on the list is a company that we don't often talk about, and it's Henry Construction. Now they have picked up a project in Southall. Well, they've actually picked up 4 projects this month, but the largest of their projects is one in Southall, and it's for over 570 dwellings. It's 4 blocks, and it's worth about 130 million. The client is Network Homes, so it's going to be obviously a social housing type project, which we've also talked about last month about it. Probably we need to increase the number of those type of projects coming forward, and that's another way the government can help. We're still wanting these 250,000 units per year to meet the demand of the UK's population. So we may have with difficulty in people are getting work or people are being employed, we may have to increase spending quite considerably on the social landlord side of things. So yeah, that's good news as well there. Now in 6th place, and also the company with the most contract awards this month, is Kier. Now normally we look at them as something like picking up a project per day. That was last year. This month they've picked up more than a project per day so far. They picked up 26 projects. Wow. Yeah, that's a great November. The largest of them being a £59 million project at a power station at Sellafield. The construction is designed to reinforce concrete structure with annex facilities. Yeah, so that's a £59 million project there, but they've secured 26. Now, one to also note this month, there's another company called Feltham Contractors. They've picked up 23 projects, so they're pushing Kiers quite considerably this month. They're not so large in size of these projects, but 23 projects in a month is fantastic.
Yeah, somebody's been very busy.
Absolutely.
One of the things that we always look at is the number of companies that have earned or picked up more than £100 million worth in a single month. And given the fact that we don't have a landmark project, I'm guessing it must be quite a few this time, because to get to 5 billion based on a 350 billion top score, there must be a lot going on.
Yeah, there is. There's 14 so far this month. But what has also done this is the fact that last month there were something like 482 projects that were awarded last month. And so far this month, there's 514 projects this month. So that's also allowing a lot more projects, and so but they're of smaller value. But great, there's something like 285 companies listed so far on our BC Live table that have secured work in November. Yeah, 14 companies. In 14th place is Bowmer and Kirkland at just over 100 million. So there you go. It's spread quite evenly across the board.
Now, obviously, this is the last of our business briefings before Christmas. So, we do tend to look back at the year right about this time. Who have been the big winners this year?
Well, the people that are actually top of the list this month, and that is BAM as well. They are top of the list so far with over 3 billion. I'm looking, if you see I'm looking this way, it's because I'm actually looking at the live table. They've got over 3 billion pounds, 3.1 billion pounds worth of work this year. Second is Barclay, so that's the home side of things. Third is Kia, and they're at just 1.8 billion, but they've got the most number of projects, which is at the moment is 216. Galliard Homes. There's also a joint venture in 5th place for BAM, Nuttall, Morgan Sindall. So BAM's figures could be actually greater than that because we don't know the split in joint ventures and we never will do. Balfour, Morgan, Waits. So yeah, and they go to all the way to the bottom with over £1 billion in the top 10 as well. So, but what is different? Last year we roughly had about 77 billion pounds as a roll in total. This year so far it's 74 billion. Okay, we've got a month to go. But what has significantly changed is the number of projects. Last year we were around about 7,200, 7,300. This year so far we're at 6,100. So we're at 20%, just under 20% lighter in the number of jobs, but that means we've got more signature projects out there because obviously the total isn't too far different to last year.
No, absolutely. And it's you have to remember all of this has taken place in the midst of a pandemic. And I know we were, construction was named as key workers and everyone was told to go to work. But, some of those people behind the scenes that were working in offices and that kind of thing, they may not have been. They may well have been tucked up at home for some months over the summer period. So, that's a remarkable performance. It really is.
It is. It's a standout performance. And when I joined Builders Conference and first met you as well, we were talking about as a rolling year total, which was way back in 2008 and the economic crash, a rolling year total of 22 billion. So, wow, look what we're doing at the present moment in time. Fantastic.
And absolutely. I certainly remember there were times where, we were struggling for the industry to get above £1 billion a month. Well, we're 5 times that and seem to be holding firm at the moment.
Absolutely. And yeah, I don't think sometimes we blow our own trumpets enough as a construction industry. We really should start to say, and that's why we don't, going back to the attracting staff and attracting good people, sometimes we don't shout it from the treetops enough. We're doing very, very well.
No, fantastic stuff. Now you've mentioned the rolling year, and you've mentioned the this month as well. I'm guessing that housing is dragging us along still.
Yes, but not as big as this month as previous months. Yes, it's over 2 billion, but it's not quite. We've been talking something like 45-50% of the actual total for the month. But yeah, no, it's just crept over the £2 billion mark. Other areas, obviously, with that Dagenham project and also the Etihad project. Entertainment and leisure is over £700 million worth of work. Education, which is fantastic news, is nearly £500 million. It's 488 billion at this present moment in time. So there's some good news there. There really is. And offices is nearly 300 million. So 2021, because obviously this is just a contract award, we've still got to do the work, and the work's going to start from today onwards. So yeah, that's fantastic news. Fantastic.
Yeah, Peter's just commented there. We do need to shout it from the highest buildings rather than the treetops. I think you did right there.
Okay, yeah.
I also think, that point that you just made there about offices, coming in the same month that, we were talking about downturns in office construction. I wouldn't say it disproves it, but it does show there's still plenty out there, doesn't it?
It does, and that sometimes we get in this spiral of poor or bad information, you know, because it is a terrible time at this present moment in time with COVID and obviously things associated with that. But yeah, it's pretty good. We need to be able to say these are the figures, and as I've always said to you, our figures or our research is we speak to the people. We don't get it from press or anything. We speak to the people, and we don't put things on our system, or we don't research system things that are hearsay. It's actually from the horse's mouth. So sometimes we're asked, why haven't you got this project on there? Why haven't you awarded this project yet? Well, our sources say that it isn't awarded. They might be preferred bidder, but they could be preferred bidder for 10 years. You know, until they get that letter of intent or contract in their hands, we don't do this. So that's the way we do it.
I think the other thing to point out as well, given that we are getting towards the end of the year, is, and I can never remember what figure it is that you say, but you know, contract award today means working, what is it, 25 weeks from now or thereabouts?
Yes, it is 25 weeks. With the help of the Considerate Constructors Scheme, because they give us a start date of when things are, our digitally advanced platform can obviously, when we know the tenders going in, and obviously when we've got a start date, they are fixed things. We can very quickly understand from our analysis how long it takes. And it is roughly, some of them might be 8 weeks, but some of them might be 2 years. And it is approximately 24 weeks from submitting that bid to actually putting the first shovel into the ground. So you've got to consider that. And coming back to that, what we have seen in the last month, in November, there has been a drop-off in tenders, in the number of tenders. And I've actually got the figures here because I'm so in December we're looking at 200. Now this will increase because we're still researching, but 239 bids are going to be we've got as going in during December, whereas in November there was 372, and in October there was 398. So you can see, if we're not careful, and that's why I'm saying this government the government has got to start to push these jobs out and get them going, because if they're going in December, they're not going to start until June, July next year.
Absolutely. We've already touched on regions, the fact that we've got the big project in the northwest, but how are we looking? Is London still top of the tree?
It is top of the tree, but it hasn't reached the £1 billion mark, which is the leveling. Yeah, no, it's the leveling up. So, the northwest with that huge project at the Etihad Stadium for the new arena there. That's £625 million worth of work up there. There is also with the Dagenham project over there. So, you know, we do separate. Dagenham is in Essex, so we separate that out. There's £636 million worth of work in Dagenham. And one to note this month, and I often talk about it as well, is Scotland. They've now gone over £300 million worth of work. So they are starting. It isn't what we want to see up. You know, we want to see more going on, but there is over £300 million worth of work. And the final region, the Midlands, where is over £500 million worth of work in that area. So it is a little bit more of a level playing field this month, which is great, which is what we've always wanted it to happen. And London not just taking, yes, everything goes to London, everything goes to London. So no, we have got leveling out.
That's brilliant news. Now, I mean, you've touched on tenders, so I have to ask the question, as we are getting towards the very end of this year. What are the prospects for the new year? What's your gut telling you?
My gut is telling me that January, February, and March until Easter will be difficult. And I don't see ourselves. I've been working, the team and myself have been working remotely from our office since the 20th of March. I don't see us returning to our office until Easter next year. And I think that's going to probably be representative across the UK when the sun hopefully is going to be a little bit more out there. So the first 3 months, and that's why I say that it's got to come from above, and that's where the government has got to really step in and start to say, right, okay, just go for it. What we're very good at in the UK is also looking backwards very easily, and quarreling and analysing what went on. I think we've got to probably change and just do something and just get these hospital jobs out there, get these infrastructure projects, get these education projects, get them out there, get them going. And I think that will give us a feel-good factor. So I do think the first 3 months will be a bit scary of 2021, but after that, I am quite positive.
That's good to hear. Very good to hear.
Mm.
So you're looking at getting back to the office in Easter. Does that mean your suit doesn't get another outing till then?
Well, I did say that to my staff today that I am going to sort of like I'm going to now become a little bit, rather than the Christmas Grinch, I am going to now put my Christmas hat on. So I'll also do that as well. Hold on. Yeah, I didn't account for obviously having some earphones on as well, but yeah,
it's almost like we planned it.
Yes, it's yeah, I don't think we will. And wearing suits, you know, I think it's going to not be a thing of the past, but I'm not going to be wearing them too many times between now and Easter. So yeah, it's going to be a different world.
Absolutely. I do have one final question before I let you get back to the day job. And if you're anything like me, you're probably going to go and get changed back into your pajamas or something like that.
I haven't stood up. I haven't.
My final question, you've mentioned the government quite a few times, and I know we're all quite keen to point a finger at the government and blame them for just about everything, including leaves on the line and snowfall and that kind of thing. But we have seen a shift over the recent months of the shift between private and publicly funded. We keep talking about, you know, the government parting with money, but it's not just them, is it?
No, we've all got to start looking at spending things and moving out. Yeah, the private sector this month so far is £3.7 billion worth of work out of the 5 billion. So the public sector hasn't spent too much this month, but it is down to all of us. We've all got to think. We've all got to support our nation, and that sounds very sort of like political, but we've got to think to ourselves, okay, the next 2-3 years is gonna be very, very strange and very difficult. We've not only got obviously from the COVID, but we've got Brexit, and we've got all the things associated around that. So looking at whether we can do weekend breaks in the UK, so that will help our hotel sector and our hospitality sector. They'll then reinvest in their hotels, so that'll bring online projects for the construction industry. Yeah, we have probably got to get that pound out of our pocket and spend it in the new year. Absolutely.
So, given that we're both here wearing very silly hats, what does Christmas hold in store for you? Because you normally spend Christmas somewhere else, don't you?
Yeah, this is only the second time since 1996 that I've actually stayed in the UK. I normally, I'm very lucky, I go and spend it abroad. I used to live and work in the Caribbean, and so we used to go back to the Caribbean to see friends and family, or not family, but friends. So yeah, I'm normally on a beach somewhere hot, somewhere nice. So this year is not going to happen. I'm spending it here. Christmas Day, I'm going to just going to be my wife and myself here, and we'll pull a cracker between us and drink a couple of glasses of mulled wine and maybe even have a sherry in the afternoon. Who knows?
It really sounds like you're pushing the boat out, I have to say. Right, Neil, look, I'm going to let you get back to the day job. As I say, I can't wait to get out this suit. One of the things that I can't quite get my head around, and maybe it's just because it's not familiar, but this suit just feels, and it fits perfectly, but it just feels really uncomfortable. I'm just so out of the habit of wearing a jacket.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's you know, I have got the suit trousers on. I did go for the whole attire, but yeah, my normal joggers and a sweatshirt are far more easier to live with.
I may or may not have the bottom half of the suit on. It's more may not actually, but right, Neil. We've had one last message there. Whether sharing you're spoiling yourself, Neil. That sounds like the old Ferrero Rocher. With this, you are really spoiling us. Yeah, absolutely. Right,
you,
Neil, you get back to the day job. I'm really pleased with those figures. Thanks for sharing them with us. Obviously, I'll be speaking to you I'll be speaking to you at the end of December to do the figures for December. But if I don't speak to you before, have a great Christmas and keep the good news coming, because I think the nation could do with it.
I definitely think so. Yeah, the more the good news, and to take Peter's analogy, that we shout it from the rooftops of the tallest buildings, the better.
Absolutely. In that case, I'll love you and leave you, and I shall speak to you very soon, Neil.
Okay, good to see you.
All the best.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Well, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting to end up wearing this hat, actually, but I wasn't expecting to have such positive news to report, given all that's been going on in the year. That's a great way to end the year. I hope that reassures some people about their job prospects and their work prospects and for workload and that kind of thing. I'm going to sign off now because I am planning to go live again at 6 o'clock tonight. Don't usually do 2 in a day, but as some people may be aware, there was a record-breaking explosive demolition project in Abu Dhabi in the early hours of this morning. And when I came in, I came into the office and I'm still catching up on that. And it really is worth shouting about to see a UK company going to Abu Dhabi and carrying out what is literally a Guinness World Record blast is something that's worth shouting from the rooftops, as we've just been saying. So I'm going to be back here at 6 o'clock this evening. In the meantime, stay safe, look after yourself, your family, your friends and your colleagues, and I will see you again in a few hours. I'll see you then.